Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi, I'm Gary Null. Nice to have you with us today in our journey of learning how we can live a longer life. And we begin with a study from Brigham Young University. An author published this in the Molecular and Cellular Pronomics, which is an important journal. And it talks about how eating less slows the aging process. Now, those of us in the field, and I've been in the field my entire life as a senior research fellow and director of the anti-aging department at the Institute of Applied Biology, doing hundreds of studies and actually over 55 clinical studies, plus health support groups, of which there were almost 100,000 participants over this many years. Many of you were in these. Some of you saw that on our hair study, see if we could regrow hair. We had 1,500 people who finished the study, 5,000 who started. We had to do it in 1 hour elements at a high school on the east side to get all these people in. And it took 2 days just to get all this done. At the end of that study, by the way, this is an aside, but it's very important. At the end of the study of meeting on a regular basis and going into great depth about our body chemistry and the hair follicle and how hair grows and why we turn prematurely gray and the role of stress and the role of nutrient deficiency like folic acid and vitamin D deficiency causes hair to thin and grow out, the role of hormones when you have too much estrogen, too much testosterone, how that impacts hair growth or the loss of hair, and then male pattern baldness, female pattern baldness. We dealt with all this in great depth. At the end of the study, we took measurements of everyone's hair. They turned in journals and the coloration. And we had about 5% of the people grew new hair, eyebrows came in, natural color came in to their hair. And anyone who dyed their hair at the beginning, we couldn't have in the study because we had to see, was it possible, as a theory, a hypothesis, to reverse the coloring of the hair when it turns gray? Can you reverse it? We were told no. Okay, let's challenge it. We did. And in 5% of the people, we changed their hair. The oldest gentleman in the study was 84 years of age. When he came in, he had been completely bald for 15 years. When he left the study a year later, he had hair that was about 1 inch long, and it was his natural color. So we showed that it could be done. However, I couldn't publish the results, couldn't even present the results because 95% failure. So if you have 95% failure, and 5% success, you do not have a statistically significant number. And as a result, I said, okay, well, we tried and we failed. And then about 3 months later, I'm walking down Broadway, where my office was at 83rd and Broadway for 28 years. And this fella comes over to me and he says, Gary, he says, do you remember me? And I said, no, I'm sorry. He said, well, I was one of the thousands of people in your hair study. And he had a bray on. He says, take a look. And he took off his bray, and he had hair growing. I said, so? He said, well, I didn't have any hair growing during the study. I said, so you're telling me this has happened in the last 3 months? He said, yeah, but I feel a little guilty. Why? It's because none of us followed the protocols. A lot of us, myself included, were there to hook up with people, meet people. You always seem to have a young, attractive audience. And the guy said, he said, look, I'm not an attractive guy. I'm short, not attractive, and bald. And, but I heard that, you know, you got a lot of nice people. So that's why I came. And afterwards, a bunch of us would go to a Chinese restaurant right down the block, and we would sit there and eat all the wrong foods. And we'd talk, and no, we weren't, you know, we liked the lectures, good. We just didn't apply anything. I said, you're kidding. He says, however, I'm in a relationship now for the first time in years, and the woman I'm with insists that I be disciplined, which I haven't been. You know, get the fat off my belly, start toning up. She's into athletics, so I've got to do what she's suggesting. As a result, following the protocol to its completeness, I've got hair growing. My skin is changing. I used to have all kinds of problems with my skin. It's gone. I used to have acne, gone. Psoriasis, gone. I said, wow. So I went back to my office and I said, pull up the list of all the people who finished the study or completed it, and then send out an email asking them, did they follow the protocol? There's an assumption, right? If you take the time to come to a lecture on a regular basis, surely then you're following the protocol. I was wrong. We got enough feedback that people were not following the protocol, not even half the protocol. Was one of these situations where if you're going to jump across the Grand Canyon and you miss it by an inch, you might as well have missed it by a mile, straight down to the bottom. So in my protocols, I expect people to do the whole protocol, because otherwise it's not going to make a difference. Because the commitment is, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. People who started saying, I'm going to do the marathon, they finished it. Every single person finished the marathon. But those, I don't know if I can do it. Seems like a long way to do it. I'm aching after running just a mile. Those people are not going to do it. So I redid the protocol. I made it shorter. I made it 3 months. It was weekly. And before they could get in, they had to prove what they had done. If they couldn't prove it, they didn't get in. And after the first week, when a lot of people showed up, well, no, I didn't do anything, then goodbye. You've got to prove that you deserve the attention you're getting in life or you won't get it. So, what were the results? Statistically significant. So, can we grow our hair thick? Yes. I have male pattern baldness in my family. Every single man in my family, all my uncles, my brothers, father, all bald. I was losing my hair. Now, I don't drink, smoke, do drugs, don't eat the sugar, have a very strict diet, and still I couldn't slow down the thinning. But then I started doing energy work, and look at my hair today. It's thick and grows really fast, natural color. Auburn, that's my natural color. And I don't use makeup, and I don't use anything on my hair. And I've got all these lights shining on me with a high definition camera so you can see for yourself. But the key was commitment to the protocol, see it through. Now, since that time, we film everybody on day one, and they have to do a whole history of what, if they're sick, what's the illness, where's the medical proof, get your doctor or hospital to give you the records. So we have an absolute proof before and after. And then we work with people who are in our studies on an individual basis. And we have astronomical success with every single study we do. Just want to share that with you. Why? Because here I'm in a dietetic class, and I'm learning that, well, you can have 3 tablespoons of sugar and put it in this patient's diet. And I'm thinking, hold on a second. You actually equated the fructose in an apple to the sucrose and white sugar as being equal in the body? They're not. Oh, yes, they are. So I went back, did my homework, and brought it forward. Mind you, these are the dietitians in all your clinical settings, in high schools for the food, the garbage they feed you, and in hospitals. And I found in 1 year, 50,000 Americans died of malnutrition that they got from the hospital. 50,000 in 1 year. That's more than, that's way up there with the Vietnam. That's dietitians in 1 year, and the doctor. Doctor tells the dietitian what the diet should be, and it's just garbage. And yet, because of the politics of it, because of the profit from all these vendors, nothing ever changes. Now, some of the hospitals will charge you a fortune, but they'll give you healthy food, but you pay a fortune for that. It shouldn't be that way. But the average American is consuming more meat this year, 6 extra pounds, than ever before. Fewer people are vegans than in the last 50 years. How's that possible? How is it possible less people are on a plant-based diet after all the studies and the knowledge and the human experience, what happens when we eat healthy? But that's where we're at. Why do you think that's the case? Later on in our program, I'd like you to call in and share your points of view. Our talkback number is 888-874-4888. Now, I realize some people are just watching the health nutrition segment, and that's all they care about. That's fine. But for those of you who watch the full program, which always starts with the latest in health nutrition, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Why, with all the information, honest information, good science, independent science, that your lifestyle determines how long you're going to live and what illnesses you will or not have, shouldn't we be more concerned? Shouldn't we be more disciplined? Should we be more focused? And yet we're not. We're just the opposite. We go out of our way to create disease. Now, we don't want the disease. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I don't have enough pain. I need more pain in my diet. Yeah, so I'm going to eat this so I can feel bad. My heart's not irregular enough. I'm going to eat this, drink that. My liver needs to have more cells die. No, we don't do that. But the outcome is identical. So what we don't pay attention to and what we don't maintain and we're not concerned about, there's a negative outcome, always. So when you have this study from Brigham Young University, published in a peer-reviewed journal, saying how eating less can slow the aging process, they're right. And they're not the only study showing that. Intermittent fasting, when you stop eating at dinner and you don't eat again till breakfast, that extends your lifespan. There are hundreds of studies on this. And yet, when was the last time the Surgeon General or your doctor or anyone said, let's go from dinner to breakfast? Now, if you should get hungry, have some cold water, put some ice cubes in it with some lemon juice. That kills the appetite. No, we won't do that. Or if you did have to eat something, eat some organic popcorn because it won't allow the anabolic activity. You don't have the calories. We don't do that. You know, it's 10 o'clock at night and suddenly someone who just had dinner at 7 o'clock is ordering in a pizza. And then we wonder why we're a nation that is the most obese nation in the world per population. And that says something. Because with that obesity comes heart disease, cancers, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these conditions. So in any case, what we have learned is relatively straightforward. We have to pay attention to reducing our calories. Remember, when you're having fruits and vegetables, with a few exceptions, you're not getting a lot of calories, but you are getting a lot of good nutrients, phytonutrients, amino acids, vitamins, minerals. You're getting what you need, the essential fatty acids in particular. All these things help you nourish your cells, replace disease cells, repair injured cells. It's really terrific. And it doesn't take long. Within 2 to 3 weeks, you begin to see it manifesting. More energy, a brightness in your eyes, better digestion, you're no longer constipated. All these things start to happen. But you got to be disciplined enough to eat less. So how about a smoothie for breakfast, and your largest meal should be at lunch. And you should have some vegetables, some grain, some beans, pulses, and some tubers, squash, parsnips. That's a good meal. Any combination thereof. A seaweed soup, a seaweed salad, something small for dinner. If you did that, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose body mass index. You're going to have more energy. You're going to sleep better. You'll be less susceptible to heart disease, diabetes, cancer. So just saying, that's what this study showed. Now, and by the way, we're eating more calories, not less. We're more obesity, not less. And more heart disease, not less. Now, I've suggested on many occasions that we use Manuka honey, M-A-N-U-K-A, because it's really a healing element. I put it on when I'm working on the farm or the ranch. You're always going to be cut, bruised. You got animals. You got barbed wire fencing. You got a lot of physical work. Yeah, you just accept it. You know, I got a scratch. Oh, I cut myself here. Put some hydrogen peroxide on it, then put some colloidal silver on it, and then you put some Manuka honey on it. Makes a huge difference. Or just to help yourself, if you're around people who have colds and flu, take the proper precautions, stimulate your immune system. And one way I do it is I have a little squeezy, and I put hydrogen peroxide and I put colloidal silver, just spritz it into the nostrils, because this area here is where an awful lot of congestion of the viruses and bacteria occur. And this, by flushing out the nasal passages, you're doing yourself a lot of good. Now you can use saline solution, but cleaning it up, I found, with diluted hydrogen peroxide or colloidal silver. Before I go on an airplane, I spritz in my nostrils colloidal silver. It creates a barrier here. You can take an old-fashioned mouthwash, one that I would not use, that has a little bit of alcohol in it, and you gargle for 60 seconds, spit it out. You've got a really kill chamber in your mouth now, your gums. So when any kind of bacteria, viruses that you don't want in your body come into this area, more often than not, they're killed. Simple things. So we've got to pay attention. Well, evaluating the effects of Manuka honey on collagen scaffolds. This was done at the University of Illinois at the Urbana campus. So bones of the face and skull can be affected due to a wide range of conditions, including cleft palate defects, traumatic injuries, cancer, bone loss from dentures. And although bone replacements are routinely used to regenerate the missing tissue, they are vulnerable to bacterial infections. In a new study, researchers investigated whether Manuka honey made from tea trees can be used to resist bacterial infection and promote bone growth. And bone implants account for 45% of all hospital contracted infections. So that's a big deal, and that impedes healing. Typically, these implants are made from biomaterials that contain extracellular matrix components, molecules that provide structural support to cells. However, researchers commonly use metal implants or synthetic polymers to study bone defects and infections. Therefore, there is a gap in the understanding of how biomaterials behave in response to infection. So the researchers use collagen scaffolds to study whether Manuka honey can be incorporated to inhibit the growth of Pseudomonas and Staphylococcus aureus, two bacteria that commonly infect bone wounds. And they found this actually worked. So the takeaway message is Manuka honey can make a difference when it's used to help with the infections in the mouth, and especially when it comes to collagen scaffolds. So that's just one extra little piece of information, but I always suggest if you're going to be around people with colds or flu, take a half a teaspoon of Manuka honey, put it in the back of your mouth, and just let it dissolve naturally. That also is important as well. Remember, Manuka honey has natural antibiotic capacity. It can kill bacteria. So that's important. And German Cancer Research Center found that iron deficiency suppresses important arm of the innate immune system. Two proteins ensure that cells can take up iron when needed. If both control proteins are switched off, then that's not good. Surprisingly, at the same time, a cell type of innate immune defense, the neutrophils, also dramatically decrease. So according to the German Cancer Research Center, you should have adequate amounts of iron in the diet. So if you're eating prunes, if you're eating beets, if you're eating dark green vegetables, including spinach and collard greens and kale, then you'll get your iron. If not, just make sure you get low dose vegan iron resource. Remember, the iron coming from animal proteins is different than the iron coming from vegetable sources. So get your vegetable source iron in adequate amounts. Doesn't take a lot, and it can help you. Helps your innate immune system. Simple. And finally, a new study outlines why meditation and yoga and prayer what it does to the human body. This is from the Benson Henry Institute at Harvard University. In lay language, they're telling us that relaxation response techniques such as meditation and yoga and prayer, deep breathing, could reduce the need for healthcare services by 43%. Wow. The study was at Harvard, Massachusetts General Hospital. It's affiliated with Harvard, that looked at participants in a relaxation response focused training program. And the paper's authors noted that stress-related illnesses such as anxiety and depression are the third highest cause of health expenditures in the United States after heart disease and cancer. Who knew that, right? The study based at the Institute of Technology Assessment and the Benson Henry Institute for Body-Mind Medicine found that individuals in the relaxation response program use fewer healthcare services in the year after their participation than in the previous year. That's good news. So contrary to these so-called experts who are not experts at all on Wikipedia, a propaganda forum, yes, energy medicine works. And this is all part of energy medicine. And we're just now beginning to appreciate how important it is to stay relaxed, stay calm. Just say to yourself when you feel stressed, pull back, breathe deeply, exhale fully, and just keep saying, calm. Stay calm. And after about 10 to 20 seconds, the cortisol levels come down. And that's important because elevated cortisol from stress creates free radicals. Free radicals destroy cells. Destroyed cells create disease. Now, when you take your antioxidants like vitamin C and E, etc., they trap those free radicals and help in the process. So meditation, yoga, breathing, prayer, and then take your antioxidants. And it can help you live a longer and healthier life. And the good science is there from Harvard and other studies to prove it. Now, on tomorrow's program, I don't have time today, 16 reasons black cumin seed oil is the remedy for everything but death. That'll be tomorrow. We're going to take a break now and come back. And remember, I'm interested in your input. Why do you think we are a nation in denial of the best choices we can make for ourselves in almost everything? How many times have you heard people say, I can't buy what I need, and yet I've got all these credit card bills? And then you ask a person, did you buy the healthiest food if you're limited in what food you can buy, like grains and pulses, legumes? No, because it's cheaper for me to go get hamburgers. But that then leads to disease, that leads to obesity, that leads to cancer and diabetes. Yeah, and you don't have the medicines to pay for all that. Yeah, so now you're broke. How many things do you buy that you did not need? Yeah, I got a lot of that. So wouldn't it make sense then to be very conscious that only buy the things you need? So you're not always in debt. But that's not what we do. Just the opposite. And you see this at Christmas, out of guilt, people got to buy stuff. And even the idea, I'm sure you've all seen the commercials, if you really love her, show her by buying that diamond. Well, what's a diamond? It's just a stone. Why does it have value? Because we've commodified it, we commercialized it. So the more the diamonds you give, the more supposed love you're sharing. It's all nonsense. It's just nonsense. You're buying something at hyper retail. Now go try to sell it. 1 hour after you bought it, go back to the place and say, I want to sell this back to you. Okay, we're going to give you below cost. So I paid $1,000, you're giving me $50? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's just all a game. So we got to stop long enough to say, what choices do I have that allow me to live a longer life, healthier life, more secure life? And what choices am I making and why that can lead to disease, bankruptcy, loss of relationship? Why? If we have freedom of choice, why are we always making the wrong choice? Just look at the people we vote for. That's really bad choices. In any case, I want to hear what you have to say. 888-874-4888. You can find all my current articles, all my essays, investigative reports, documentaries by going to GaryNull.com. You'll see all the different captions, articles, films. You can also go to Rumble and look down at Gary Null's film library, Odysee, and for health nutrition information, you can go to Gary Null on YouTube. Back in a moment. Please stay with us.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for Progressive Voices.